Hey guys, and Nan Rider here. This is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai 227 Clash Clash Clash. Now I thought this chapter was pretty good. We got to see the development of the sins once again. I mean they're trying to showcase, or what's his name? Is it Nakaba? I've forgotten the guy's name, but the author's trying to show us the development of the sins once again. I think we saw it in the village when we saw the lesser demons, but this is against the commandment. So we got to see development of the sins again, but we actually did get to see the lack of development of one of the sins. So let's just go through the chapter and see exactly what went down. So first we get Diane getting wrecked by one of Melusula's new vengeful carnage entities because they're being fueled by the power of Meliodas' negative energy. So they're all absorbing that negative energy. They're all absolute beasts now, and Diane gets punched through a wall. Galtha tries to actually jack one of them. Well, jack a few of them. He shoots his energy into them, and usually what that does is it allows Galtha to control them via their neural connections. But this doesn't work. First and foremost, it wouldn't have worked because these guys don't have any nerves on them. They're all bone. The nerves have gone. But I think even in this sense, Galtha should have been able to control them, but he couldn't because they're being fueled by basically just their grudge, their negative energy, fear, anger, all that type of stuff. So they're not actually moving by any nervous interactions. So that's why Galtha couldn't actually jack them, because they're not moving through neural connections. Merlin then goes on to KO a few of them. She knocks them out. She uses this type of magic which just clean swipes out like the top halves of a few of them. And she then clocks on that they're feeding off of Meliodas' negative energy. She's like, yeah, they seem to be feeding off negative energy, and there's a massive negative energy in the center of the city stronghold, and that's where Meliodas went. So it's, one and one is two. So she kind of just clocks on, and then we see the sins fighting back, and this is what I'm talking about. We got to see the development of the sins in terms of their strengths, in terms of their power. So we get King revealing the True Spirit Spear Chastity Fall fourth form, and we all know what this form is. It's Sunflower, but we've never seen it like this. Normally Sunflower just gets this huge ass thick ass stalk, and it's a huge sunflower, and from the center of it like sends out a huge ass beam and just blows shit up. But this time the sunflower is huge. I mean, it's massive. It's not so tall as it is wide. It covers such a huge area of the landscape, and it's got all these vines going across the floor. And what you notice is all these thick ass vines which have and roots which have scattered across the ground, which have penetrated through the ground. They start waving almost like the ropes in a circuit training class. They just start waving them. He starts waving them, and it knocks up all these skeletons. It catapults them into the air, and he then uses his sunflower to charge up all this energy, and he blows them sky high. He just blows them straight. I think they're definitely dead. He just blows them to pieces, blows them up into smithereens. So then we see Diane using a move called Rock Rush. She was fine. It turns out the move didn't really affect her that much. These are the power ups they got, so she's gonna be solid as shit. So Diane then goes on to crush like loads of them using this move called Rock Rush, which is basically a shower of rocks. It's almost like basically a meteor shower, but not that the rocks aren't that large. And she wrecks a good few of the skeletons surrounding them. And then we see, in direct contrast to King and Diane kicking some ass, we see Ban, who is he's one of my favorite sins after, like, obviously the OP ones like Meliodas and Escanor. Escanor is everyone's favorite sin. I mean, you can't hate Escanor, but and Meliodas everyone loves as well. But Ban is like probably the coolest sin, just because of his past, his character. He's just a really cool guy, and he's struggling to get rid of one of these skeletons, and he's being rushed by like 2-3 of them, and there's loads more around him. So he's struggling. He's getting wrecked. He gets impaled by one of them with their arm. And the thing I want to make note of is he didn't actually use his ability. He didn't use Snatch on any of them. He didn't use Fox Hunt to take off their limbs or snatch away their limbs. He didn't use Hunterfest to jack everyone's energies. He didn't use I forgot what the other one was called, where he just steals one person's. I think, is that Hunterfest? Yeah, he didn't use Hunterfest to steal one person's energy or anybody else's energies in terms of their power. to add to his own. So he didn't use any of that, but he probably didn't even get any time because he was being rushed. But he definitely needs some sort of power up. I'm not sure how he'd get a power up other than attaining his sacred treasure, which is called Kureshus or Kurekus. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Kureshus, I think. Kureshus, yeah. I'm not sure how. We know that it's some form of a nunchuck. It's a staff that breaks apart into like a 4-segmented nunchuck, I think it is. But the only other form of power up I can see him getting is improving his limit of power absorption, because we know from his fight with Gadon of Truth, one of the 10 Commandments, that he could only absorb so much power before the power would damage his own body or something like that. As in, he'd emit so much power and it punch his arm would blow off or some shit like that. So he can only absorb so much, so he needs to improve that limit. That's the only other way I can see him improving, because the others all aren't like really human, so they can improve their powers beyond what a human can. But Ban is the only one who's actually human. I think we have Diane, Galtha, King, Merlin, Meliodas, Ban, and Escanor. Escanor's the only other questionable one, but I doubt he's human. Ban's human. Ban's definitely human. So he's the one that naturally should be the weakest, but he is immortal and he does have an awesome ability, and the magical power is what makes you in this manga. I mean, especially for a human, his power to steal physical energy as well is great for him. So he needs to obtain his sacred treasure, but also he needs to improve his abilities. Maybe I don't know how he's going to go about doing it. Actually, there might be a way. We'll come on to that later. But then Escanor finally makes an entrance about time, and he makes the best line. He says the best line he said one of the best lines he said so far. Bond tells him, "Look, you got loads of guys behind you. You best turn your ass around." And he's like, "Bruh, I'm just," he just goes, "Acting calm and composed is a privilege of the mighty." I was like, this guy, he's so cool. Escanor is so cool. I mean, when he said that, so many people in the comments are just like, Escanor, there should be like a book of quotes of Escanor. Everything he says is just gold. It's so good. So then Escanor goes on to like burn the shit out of some of his enemies, and then Melusula is shocked. She's like, she realizes all her minions are being decimated, and she's like, "What the hell? You know, they were infused with your power." She's talking to Meliodas. Meliodas is like, "The 7 deadly sins are destined to beat the commandments. This is what our job is. So basically, just get your asses ready. We're gonna kick some ass." So then she feeds all the negative energy that surrounds them into one remaining skeleton, who obviously can't take it. It's Meliodas' energy, and he just blows apart. And Merlin's like, "Ha, that's our captain for you." So Melusilla then goes full Eneru. It's going to be my thumbnail, but it's not all going to fit. Just read the chapter. She goes full Eneru. If you don't know what that is, check it out. Type it in on Google or something. Eneru One Piece face or something like that. That was hilarious. Her jaw just drops, and she's basically like so shocked. I was like, yo. So Melusilla then launches kind of a desperation attack, but it's a really good attack. It's a possessive form of attack. So what she does is, and Merlin realizes, is she tries to possess one of the sins. I'm not sure whether she's possessing them with her own mind or with just possessing them with some sort of absent mind. I'm not too sure. But whatever happens, Diane gets possessed and she's bleeding from her eyes, almost like Sasuke or Itachi when they use their Mangekyo Sharingan too much. She's literally bleeding from her eyes. And then we see Elaine crawling out of her bed, trying to go towards where Diane is, because she feels she can help her. She's saying like Diane's being swallowed up by fear and anger and rage and all that type of stuff. And Elaine is the holy maiden. You know, she seems to have the light / holy type of magical power. And then we have Elizabeth, who was incapacitated, but she takes Elaine's arm and she's like, "Yeah, let's go." So they ready themselves and they're going to go help Diane. So like I said just a few seconds ago, both Elizabeth and Elaine, they both have that holy / light type of power. So I reckon they're going to be a huge asset against all of the 10 Commandments, but at this moment in time, against the Necromancer, they're going to be particularly useful. So they're going to go there and kick some ass, especially because the next chapter is called The Goddess and the Holy Maiden. So the last point I'd like to bring up, I mean, this is already 10 minutes long, just as I looked. The last point I want to make is, I have a feeling Elaine is going to... well, we all know Elaine's going to perish at some point soon, but I think it's going to be in the next 3 chapters, maybe even less than that. She's definitely gonna die I think in the next 3 chapters. I doubt her death in any way is gonna, in and of itself, give Ban a power increase. Like, she's not gonna die and he's not gonna rage and then suddenly get a power spike or something like that. But I do think, I kind of think maybe she'll bestow something on him before she dies, like a weapon, maybe some form of magic, maybe some form of ability. But she's got to give Ban some form of lasting, like some form of lasting piece of memorabilia or something to remember her by, before she goes, because she's going again. This is part 2 for Ban, even though Meliodas has seen that like 106 times or something like that. So yeah, that was the end of the chapter. If you liked anything I have to say, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I think that's it for the week. Yeah, so then the next chapter, it will be the next 7 deadly, well, the next fairy, actually there is no fairy tale. Okay, so the next 7 deadly sins chapter, and I'm catching up with Boku no Hero Academia at the moment, and that's what I'm going to use, that's what I'm going to be reviewing instead of fairy tale. So I was going to make a separate announcement video for that, but I feel I just said it now. If anybody's watching this one, usually this one gets the views, you'll know. So Boku no Hero Academia, I still might make like a small 30-second announcement video, but yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in a bit.